The station was called Carthos 9, but most beings called it the cage. It floated between dead stars, cold and silent, owned by the Zarn Collective. Every species in the sector knew its purpose. Carthos 9 was not a home. It was a place where obedience was taught. Humans were at the bottom here. They worked the heavy corridors, cleaned toxic halls, lifted cargo meant for machines, and stayed quiet. If a human caused trouble, punishment came fast and public. The aliens believed fear worked better when others watched. This cycle had repeated for years, until one day something went wrong. The work shift had just ended. Long lines of workers stood in silence under the bright white lights of the central platform. Zarn guards hovered above them, their long limbs folded, weapons glowing faintly. Among the workers stood a human named Evan. He was not tall, not strong-looking, just tired. His hands were rough from metal work. His back hurt from lifting crates twice his weight. His face showed old bruises that never fully healed, but his eyes were calm. That calm had kept him alive. Near the edge of the platform stood a Zarn child. Smaller than the others, its blue skin still soft, its eyes too curious for this place. The child had been told to stay still. It did not. A small metal tool slipped from its grip and fell, clattering loudly against the floor. The sound echoed. Everything stopped. The overseer turned slowly. The crowd knew what that meant. The Zarn overseer floated forward, its voice cold and sharp. "Who allowed noise during inspection?" The child froze. It tried to speak, but fear stole its voice. The overseer's eyes glowed brighter. "Step forward." The child took one shaking step. A murmur spread through the crowd. Everyone knew what came next. Punishment was never private. Pain was a lesson. The overseer raised one arm. 10 strikes, it said, for disorder. The child let out a small, broken sound. That was when Evan moved. At first, no one noticed. Humans were invisible here. But then he stepped fully forward, standing between the child and the overseer. The guards shifted, confused. The overseer tilted its head. "A human?" Evan swallowed. His voice was low but steady. "Punish me." Silence spread across the platform. The overseer studied him. "The offense was not yours." "I know," Evan said, "but take me instead." A ripple of laughter came from the guards. Humans begged often, they cried, they pleaded, but they did not offer themselves. The overseer's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Evan glanced back at the child. The small alien stood frozen, eyes wide, body trembling. "She's scared," he said. "I'm not." That was a lie. He was terrified, but fear didn't move his feet. The overseer paused, calculating. Then it smiled. "Very well, human, your pain will be educational." The guards forced Evan to his knees. The first strike came fast. Pain exploded across his back. His breath left him in a sharp gasp. The crowd flinched. The second strike burned deeper. The third made his vision blur. But Evan did not scream. He bit down hard, fists clenched, body shaking but silent. The child stared in horror. The fourth strike knocked him forward. He caught himself before falling, breathing hard. The fifth strike cracked against his shoulder. A Zarn guard laughed. "He will beg soon." But he didn't. By the sixth strike, blood stained his shirt. By the seventh, his arms shook so badly he could barely stay upright. Still, he said nothing. The eighth strike sent him to the floor. The child cried out. Evan turned his head just enough to see her. He forced a weak smile. "It's okay," he whispered. The ninth strike landed. Then the 10th. Silence followed. Evan didn't move. For a moment the crowd thought he was dead. Then he breathed, slow, shaky, but alive. The overseer stared, unsettled. Humans were not meant to last that long. The child broke free from her place and ran forward, stopping beside Evan. She didn't touch him, just stood there, crying quietly. That was when another presence entered the platform. The air changed. The guards stiffened. A tall figure stepped forward from the upper balcony. The alien mother. She was powerful, high-ranking. Her markings glowed with authority. Everyone bowed as she descended. Her eyes went straight to the child, then to the human. She studied Evan carefully. The blood, the broken posture, the way he still tried to rise even now. Her voice cut through the silence. "Why did you do this?" Evan struggled to lift his head. "Because she didn't deserve it." The mother looked at her child, then back at him. "You are not of my kind," she said. "You owe us nothing." He gave a weak breath that might have been a laugh. "Doesn't matter." The crowd waited. No one could read her expression. Then she turned to the guards. "Take him." Gasps spread instantly. The child cried out in fear. Evan's heart sank. He had known this would happen. The guards grabbed his arms, lifting him roughly. The alien mother leaned closer, her voice low and sharp. "Not to the cells," she said. The guards froze. "Take him to my residence." The platform erupted in shocked whispers. Her residence was not a place for prisoners. The overseer hesitated. "You claim a human." "I do," she replied. "Why?" someone asked. She looked down at Evan, her eyes cold but curious. "Because I want to understand," she said. As darkness closed in, he heard the child's voice calling after him. And for the first time since arriving on Carthos 9, he wondered if surviving had changed something. Evan woke slowly. At first, he thought he was dead. The pain was gone. The cold metal floor was gone. Instead, there was warmth beneath him. Soft light filled the space, glowing blue and calm. He tried to move. His body protested, but it moved. That alone confused him. He opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was smooth and curved, glowing with strange symbols that slowly shifted. This was not a cell. There were no chains, no guards, no cold steel walls. He was lying on a wide resting platform, clean, treated, alive. Evan pushed himself up, wincing as his muscles screamed in protest. "Easy," a voice said. He froze. The voice was calm, female, controlled. He turned his head. The alien mother stood a few steps away. She was taller than him, her posture straight, her dark eyes sharp with intelligence. Her presence filled the room even without weapons or guards. "You should not be awake yet," she said. Evan swallowed. "Then, why am I?" She studied him as if he were a puzzle. "Because I ordered your healing." He blinked. "Why?" She did not answer right away. Instead, she moved closer, slowly walking around him as if observing an experiment. "You took punishment meant for my child," she said. "You did not cry out. You did not beg. Even when your body failed, your will did not." Evan looked away. "I just did what was right." Her eyes narrowed. That word again. "Right. Yes," she said. "Your species uses it often, yet it has no value in survival." Evan let out a quiet breath. "Maybe not for your people." Silence filled the room. Then she spoke again. "My name is Velthira," she said. "I am commander of this station, and mother to the child you protected." Evan stiffened slightly. "I didn't mean to interfere." "You interfered greatly," she said. "And yet I am not angry." That surprised him. She turned away and activated a wall panel. Images appeared in the air, records of punishments, order logs, rules. "Our kind survives through control," she said. "Weakness is removed early. Mercy is a flaw. Compassion is dangerous." She turned back to him. "And yet you showed all three." Evan sat in silence. "Why?" she asked again. He thought for a moment. "Because someone once did it for me." Her eyes flickered. He continued, voice low. "When I was young, I was scared. I made mistakes. Someone older stepped in and took the blame. Not because they had to, because they chose to." He looked up at her. "That changed me." The room was quiet. The hum of the station felt distant. Velthira studied him with something new in her expression. Not anger, not curiosity, conflict. "My people believe pain teaches strength," she said, "but you endured pain without hatred." He shrugged weakly. "Hate just makes it worse." She turned sharply. "You speak as if you understand suffering." A bitter smile touched his lips. "Humans are good at surviving it." Time passed differently in the chamber. Evan was given food, real food, not ration paste. His wounds healed quickly under alien technology, but he was not free. Guards stood outside, silent, watching. Every day Velthira returned. Sometimes she questioned him. Sometimes she only watched. and sometimes she brought her child. The child stayed close to the door at first, afraid, but Evan never moved toward her. He just smiled. One day she spoke. "Why did you look at me when it hurt?" the child asked softly. Evan blinked. "Because I didn't want you to think it was your fault." She thought about that. "You were in pain," she said. "Why care about me?" He shrugged again. "Pain passes, guilt stays." The child frowned, trying to understand. Over time, she sat closer, then closer still. She asked questions: why humans smiled, why they helped strangers, why they cried when others were hurt. Evan answered simply. "Because we're not strong alone," he said. "We're strong together." Velthira watched all of this, and something inside her began to shift. One cycle later, the council summoned her. The chamber was cold and massive. Other commanders appeared on glowing platforms, their voices sharp and suspicious. "You have kept the human alive," one said. "He has influenced your offspring," another added. "This is unacceptable." Velthira stood tall. "He is contained," she said, "and useful." "How?" a voice demanded. "He demonstrates a survival method unknown to us," she replied. "One not based on fear." Murmurs filled the chamber. "Humans are weak," a commander snapped. "Their bodies fail. Their ships are inferior." Velthira's eyes hardened. "And yet one human endured what our soldiers cannot," she said. "Without hatred, without surrender." Silence followed. Finally, the highest voice spoke. "Then prove your loyalty." The chamber darkened. "Execute him." Velthira felt something twist inside her chest. She had expected resistance, but not this. "You will do it publicly," the voice continued. "Remind the station what happens when order is questioned." The command ended. The chamber went dark. Velthira stood alone. For the first time in her life, she hesitated. That night she stood in Evan's chamber. He was sitting up, slowly stretching his healing arms. "They're going to kill me, aren't they?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. He smiled faintly. "Figures." "You are not afraid," she said. "I am," he replied, "but I knew this was coming." She looked away. "Why are you so calm?" He met her gaze. "Because even if I die, something already changed." She frowned. "What?" He nodded toward the door where the child often watched. "You saw it too." Silence stretched between them. Then very quietly Velthira said, "If I stop this, everything changes." He gave a tired smile. "Yeah," he said, "that's usually how it starts." The next day the execution was announced. The entire station gathered. Guards dragged Evan forward, weak but standing. The child watched from the platform above, eyes wide with fear. The execution device hummed to life. Velthira stepped forward. The crowd waited. She raised her hand, and instead of giving the command, she spoke. "Observe this human." Confusion rippled. "He was beaten, he was broken, and still he chose to protect." Murmurs spread. "He does not rule by fear," she continued. "Yet he changed more than any weapon ever has." The council tried to interrupt. She raised her voice. "If strength is the power to endure, then this human is stronger than us all." Gasps echoed. The child stepped forward, so did others. Guards hesitated. For the first time the system wavered. Evan lifted his head, eyes wide. Velthira turned to him. "You showed my people something dangerous," she said. "Hope." The platform was filled with silence. All around, the station's workers and soldiers watched. Some stood tensely, unsure whether to obey the council. Others whispered, trying not to be noticed. The bright white lights reflected off cold metal walls, making the whole place feel harsher than it ever had. Evan stood in the center, his body bruised, his clothes torn, but his eyes calm. He had faced death before and had survived worse. This was different. The council's order was clear. Execute him publicly, make an example of him. The alien mother, Velthira, moved to the front of the platform. Her tall figure cast a long shadow over the human. Every eye followed her. Even the council leaned forward. Her decision would decide the fate of the station's moral balance. Evan lifted his chin, his chest heaving slightly. The pain of his injuries had not fully disappeared, but he refused to show fear. His gaze fell on the child above, standing with trembling hands at the rail. She looked at him with wide eyes, unsure whether to cheer, cry, or run. "You're not afraid," she whispered to herself. Evan turned slightly and gave her a faint, encouraging smile. "I am," he said quietly, "but fear won't decide this day." The council's chief spoke, a high, shrill voice that cut through the tension. "Prepare the human. His defiance ends now." Guards moved forward, but Velthira held up her hand. "Stop," she commanded. Her voice echoed through the chamber. Even the guards hesitated. The council members looked at her, anger flashing in their glowing eyes. "You defy us," one demanded. "I observe," Velthira said calmly. "Observe what happens when a creature survives through courage rather than fear. Observe what humans can teach us." The human council erupted into murmurs, their faces tight with confusion. They had never seen such open defiance. Their laws demanded obedience. Fear had kept the station under control for centuries. And now, a human was challenging the system without a weapon, without armies. Evan stayed silent, letting the moment stretch. He was aware of the guards surrounding him, the council watching from above, and the hundreds of eyes that reflected doubt and curiosity. He thought of the child. She had been saved by him once, and now she would see the outcome. He could not let her lose hope. Not now. The execution device hummed to life, mechanical arms swinging into position. Metal glowed red, meant to strike with finality. The human workers and minor aliens gasped quietly. Evan swallowed and looked up at Velthira. "Do what you must," he said. "I have no fear of what comes." Her eyes softened slightly. She knelt down to his level, letting the child see the gesture. "You understand more than any human should," she said quietly, "and perhaps more than I should admit." She stood and raised her hand. The mechanical arms stopped moving. A collective murmur of surprise ran through the crowd. "Look at him," Velthira said. Her voice rang clear, carrying across the platform. "Do not focus on his weaknesses. Focus on what he has taught us." The council hissed at her audacity. One member shouted, "This is madness." "No," she replied calmly, "this is truth." The child's voice rang out suddenly. "He saved me," she said. "He didn't have to, he chose to." Every eye in the chamber turned to her. Some guards flinched. Others glanced at one another, unsure how to respond. Evan's chest rose slowly. He had not expected the child to speak. Her words held power. She had witnessed courage that none of the council had seen. And now she was speaking boldly in the same place where obedience was law. Velthira stepped forward. "You see now," she said, "humans endure, they protect, they inspire, and they do so without weapons, without fear. Their strength is not measured in violence or domination, it is measured in choice." The crowd was silent. No one dared to interrupt. The council members looked uneasy. They had spent lifetimes measuring strength only by control and pain. Here was a human, bruised and beaten, who had broken no rules of the council except to follow his conscience. And yet, he had achieved what armies could not. Evan's voice was quiet but firm. "You may think fear makes you strong," he said, "but fear only controls. Compassion, courage, and choice, those are strength, true strength." The words echoed. They did not roar like a battle cry, but they resonated in every heart. For the first time in many years, the station's hierarchy wavered. Some of the junior guards looked uncertain. Some council members clenched their fists. Others began to question. Velthira's eyes met Evan's. "You have done what no human was supposed to do," she said. "You have survived, you have influenced, you have changed minds." Evan nodded. "I only did what anyone would do for someone they care about." The child climbed down from the rail and ran toward him, stopping just short of his feet. She reached out, hesitant, and touched his hand. "You're not going to leave me, are you?" she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Not today." Velthira watched silently, a conflict within her. Her species valued power, dominance, and obedience. And yet here stood a human who had defeated fear with compassion and endurance. The council finally spoke again. "This human's defiance must be punished." one member growled. "You will face consequences for your actions, Velthira." She held up a hand, her voice cutting through the chamber. "I choose differently," she said. "I release him, not as a prisoner, not as a slave, but as a symbol." Gasps spread across the assembly. The council hissed, shaking with fury. "Symbol," one shouted. "He is weak." "He is human," Velthira's voice rang clear. "And yet he has done what none of you could. He has shown the station that true strength lies in courage, compassion, and choice." The human workers whispered among themselves. A spark ignited in their hearts. Perhaps humans were not powerless. Perhaps the stories of their weakness had been lies. The child smiled up at Evan. "You are strong," she said simply. He knelt slightly, bringing his eyes level with hers. "We all have strength," he said. "Sometimes it takes pain to see it." The council members seethed in silence. They could not deny what had happened. A human had survived. A human had protected. A human had changed minds. Velthira stepped back, signaling the guards. "Let him go," she said. "And let it be known, the human has changed the cage." For the first time, Evan felt the weight lift. He had survived more than punishment. He had survived doubt, fear, and centuries of alien prejudice. Word spread quickly. Across the station, whispers became conversations. Conversations became debates. And soon, the story of a human who endured strikes for a child, who did not beg, who did not surrender, became legend. Other species began to reconsider what they had believed about humans. Perhaps they were weaker in body, but stronger in spirit. Perhaps they could endure beyond what machines or armies could measure. Evan did not seek fame. He only wanted to protect one child. Yet his actions had ignited something larger. Velthira watched him leave the platform. She had never admitted it, but she felt respect, perhaps even admiration, for this human who had quietly defied her expectations. The child ran beside him, her small hand in his. She would never forget what he had done. And he would never forget the lesson she had taught him. Courage was contagious. As Evan walked through the corridors of Carthos 9, heads turned, some with hope, some with fear, all with wonder. He smiled faintly. Humanity had not yet conquered the stars. But the stars had begun to notice humanity, and that was enough for now. For the first time in centuries, the cage felt a little less like a prison, and a little more like a place where courage could survive. And in the cold silence of the station, one truth became clear. Humans endure, humans protect, humans inspire, and when they finally rise, no force in the galaxy will be able to ignore them.